Ladies and gentlemen, the road to WrestleMania is finally underway with one major twist and turn happening at the Elimination Chamber when The Miz cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase to become the new WWE Champion. What are WWE's plans going into WrestleMania? And did we get a teaser about WrestleMania dropped on Corey Graves after the Bell podcast? A major match potentially booked for Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 37, which would mean only one thing, that Bobby Lashley is becoming the new WWE Champion on Monday Night Raw. Never mind Lashley, what about the Smackdown side of things? We got Reigns and Edge already confirmed for WrestleMania, but where does that leave Daniel Bryan? Where does that leave Cesaro, who's on a major hot streak on Friday nights? Is Cesaro set for a major WrestleMania main event match as well? Also, Paul Wight, the Big Show, shockingly joined All Elite Wrestling. What was the backstage reaction to Paul Wight joining AEW? All this plus so much more right here on episode 366 of Off the Script.
This video is brought to you by catbeast.com. Design your own custom snapbacks and hats.
Delete! This is mine.
What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. This is episode 366 for your Saturday, February 27th, 2021. I am JD from New York, and we have a lot to go over today. The big story, Brock Lesnar's name is being uttered more and more every single week when it comes to what will happen with the WWE title situation going into WrestleMania. We will uncover that and how to creatively book a Brock Lesnar return on Monday Night Raw. And the one thing that WWE should not do, and that is very simple. Very simple, because we've been there and done that, and I think you guys know exactly what that is. So we got that amongst other top stories in the world of professional wrestling. We're going to go over that today on the podcast. I want to thank not only my sponsors for today's show, which I'll get to in a second, but I want to thank everybody that has come out and supported me and Big Hodge for Critiques and Connoisseurs, man. The interest that you guys have shown the show already is amazing. And episode 1 went live today at 1 p.m. So if you are waiting to watch this show, by all means, watch this show. You guys can pause this and go back. It's only 12 minutes. Episode 1 was only 12 minutes. Or you could finish watching this and then go back, whichever you guys want to do. Episode 1 is uploaded right now on the Critiques and Connoisseurs official YouTube channel. Links for everything you need, CNC, are down in the description. Go and check it out. We are talking about The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and we are talking about Terramana Tequila, his newest business venture. So go and check that out, and make sure you guys leave a comment, a like, rating. Let me know what you think of the show. It only gets better from here, and I can't wait to show you what else we have in store for the CNC, man. So link is down below for the channel. Go and subscribe and go check out episode 1 right now live on the official CNC YouTube channel. I want to thank my sponsors for today's show. Number one, capbeast.com. If you guys want custom hats, they are your number one go-to, man. I've been with them for a few years now, on and off, and Cap Beast does incredible work. I want to thank them for supporting the podcast right here as the official sponsor going into WrestleMania season on OTS. So that's capbeast.com. Go and get whatever you need made for the spring, man. I know you guys love your snapbacks and your caps like I do, so go get something made today via Cap Beast. Awesome work there And I want to shout out Dr. Squatch, as always, for being a great partner of the podcast. DrSquatch.com. You guys are going to use code SCRIPT at checkout for 20% off. Cologne. You guys got deodorants. You guys got soaps, shampoos, conditioners, toothpaste, everything you need to keep you guys smelling good, looking good, feeling good. I mean, holy shit, man, you're listening to the podcast. So why not use Dr. Squatch? We're the best. They're the best at what they do. So go and get yourself some Dr. Squatch. 20% off. Use code SCRIPT at checkout. Link is down below for all the information on Dr. Squatch. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That's Twitter and Instagram. Thank you to the 31,000 large on Twitter. Awesome stuff there. We are nearing 8,800 on Instagram as well. Nice little growth spurt over there with the CNC looming. So make sure you guys go and check that out. If you missed any of the live streams on the channel, let me know what you think of Friday's show, man. We're up in the game. That's all I'm saying. Go and check out Monday Night Raw, AEW, and Friday Night SmackDown's live stream post shows now on the channel. I appreciate all the support as always. And your merchandise, man. You guys know the deal. Bonfire.com, the exclusive home of Off the Script, and then mouthmasker.com/OTS. Go and get your masks today and represent Off the Script. All right, guys, let's start at the top. We got news, but not much news. There's some major news articles here this week, but not much. It's been a slow week. But seeing how it has, the wrestling world has really taken a step back for just a little bit this week. Not much has happened outside of the major announcement of the big show. And then obviously Bobby Lashley getting his WWE Championship match against The Miz next week on Monday Night Raw. Nothing really major has happened coming out of the Elimination Chamber. It was just a what is going on type of show. I mean, who gives a shit about The Miz? Shrugging your shoulders. Oh, yeah, they pulled the trigger on The Miz. Oh, well, now I know I'm not watching Monday Night Raw, which I heard from many people with that creative decision. But Brock Lesnar is set for a huge WrestleMania match, or at least if you talk to Corey Graves, that's exactly what's going on After the Bell. Brock Lesnar left WWE after WrestleMania last year. It took fans a while to realize that his contract was actually expired. But once his merchandise disappeared from WWE's shop, they finally got the idea. Bobby Lashley is in line to hopefully win the WWE title against The Miz next week on Monday Night Raw. Obviously, that is the right creative decision, and I stress the word obviously. The Miz is not going into WrestleMania as the WWE champion. If that is the case, then WrestleMania, as far as the Monday Night Raw side, is completely ruined. Nobody wants to see The Miz. I don't even think The Miz wants to go into WrestleMania as the WWE champion because I know deep down that he knows it's a god-awful creative decision. The match of Miz and Lashley, with the idea of Lashley winning the WWE title for the first time, is obviously going to set the stage for people to talk about Brock Lesnar and him coming back to challenge Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship. On this week's After the Bell, WWE announcers Corey Graves and Vic Joseph, who apparently was added to the show, were asked if they were behind the idea of Bobby Lashley picking up the WWE Championship next week on Monday Night Raw. Graves is into the idea, but then the question arose about who would face the CEO of the Hurt Business at WrestleMania 37. Vic Joseph says, and I quote, "I think there's an obvious answer out there that's floating around, but I'm not going to give that obvious answer." End quote. Then Corey Graves answered and said, "Listen, I am going to give the answer. Brock Lesnar is the answer." End quote. Bobby Lashley has long wanted this match with Brock Lesnar. Doesn't necessarily have to be at WrestleMania. He just wants the match to happen. WWE has yet to make this idea or this dream of Lashley's happen, but this could be the year. This is obviously the best year for it to happen, seeing that all the puzzle pieces are falling into their correct places for Bobby Lashley. Graves also said Brock Lesnar, just as Paul Heyman does when he mentioned Brock Lesnar's name. Brock Lesnar. You guys know the way he accentuates the name. So the man has served as Lesnar's advocate for many years, since the day that he debuted. So we'll have to see how WWE books Lesnar coming back. Is it going to be with Paul Heyman? Is Lesnar just going to show up on his own on Monday Night Raw? I find it funny that Paul Heyman always shits on Monday Night Raw when he's on Talking Smack. But we'll have to see how WWE books this match, and they are going to need not one, but two main event matches, because WrestleMania, if you guys are not aware, is a two-night show on April 10 and April 11 in April, okay? Now, I said this on Monday night, and I am even more so convinced that The Miz is not winning this match. I mean, it would be absolutely creatively foolish for WWE to have The Miz in any way, shape, or form win this match and retain the title. Even if it's a fuck finish, retain the title. He doesn't necessarily need to win, but at the end of the day, The Miz must not walk out of the Thunderdome on Monday as the WWE champion. And I don't want to hear people, oh, Drew McIntyre is coming back. He's going right after The Miz to get revenge. Right now, his opportunity at revenge should only sit with Bobby Lashley, because Bobby Lashley was the one who did what he did to Drew McIntyre, and The Miz just capitalized like a weasel. So Drew McIntyre coming back should be solely against Bobby Lashley. I don't think Drew McIntyre gives a shit if it's The Miz or Bobby Lashley as the WWE champion. He just wants his WWE championship back. So Drew McIntyre, I don't think is going to have a factor in this match. We may see him after the match is over. And I got news later on as to why he wasn't even on Monday Night Raw this past Monday. Drew McIntyre should not factor into the finish at all. Neither should Bad Bunny. See a lot of people out there saying that Bad Bunny is going to help Bobby Lashley win the WWE Championship. No. No. Do you know how ridiculous that sounds? Bobby Lashley needed to win the WWE Championship via help of Bad Bunny. Bobby Lashley could snap The Miz in half by just blinking. We don't need Bad Bunny helping Bobby Lashley with anything. Bobby Lashley should dominate The Miz and win the WWE Championship. He's the CEO of the Hurt Business. I think that would go against the grain if Bobby Lashley's the CEO of the Hurt Business and he needs help from Bad Bunny. Not going to happen, man. Bobby Lashley wins the title, which I am not really a fan of, but WWE has put us in this situation. It's better than The Miz. I don't know what their line of thinking was to give The Miz the WWE Championship, but here we are. This is not how I would have booked WrestleMania season. This is not how I would have booked WrestleMania season, folks. I go back to what I've been explaining to everybody about wanting the best WrestleMania card possible. I mean, you could give us Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar away from the WWE Championship on top of booking WrestleMania correctly, and it would only make the card better. Why do we have to go through this road or this route to get Lashley and potentially Lesnar in the ring together with The Miz being WWE Champion? I don't want to harp on what I've been repeating to you guys for weeks now, but Edge and McIntyre would have been ideal. Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns would have been ideal. So you got your two major championship matches squared away for WrestleMania, one for night one on night two, and you don't have to worry about it. Then you could book the rest of the show how you see fit and give us another top two matches underneath those. And you could set aside 4 major matches for every single night if you wanted to. That you got WrestleMania inside Raymond James Stadium. I don't understand how you think that is not better than what WWE is giving us now. In fact, no matter how you look at it, the WrestleMania card is going to be worse than what I've been giving you for weeks. And that's just the God's honest truth. Drew McIntyre should have never lost the WWE Championship. The Raw Elimination Chamber should have been non-existent. There should have been no Raw Elimination Chamber. Drew McIntyre should have defended the title against somebody worthy for that B-level pay-per-view. Simple. If Edge was to win the Royal Rumble, Edge should have came out and challenged Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre should have defended the title against a AJ Styles or a Bobby Lashley or a Sheamus. You had a plethora of opponents to choose from. Then Roman Reigns, he could defend the title against a Cesaro or Nakamura if you want to stretch another match out, which I wouldn't have really cared about, Kevin Owens. And then the Smackdown chamber, which could have been for the number one contendership to Roman Reigns and the Universal title at WrestleMania, keeping the chamber and the importance of the chamber intact. Meanwhile, both champions are defending their championships at the show to see if they actually are going to go on to WrestleMania and defend those very championships. Then you come to Fastlane, you can give us main event matches that don't need to include the WWE Championship, because why would you have a champion defend the title or their title 2 weeks before WrestleMania at a non-fucking worthless pay-per-view? It's awful. You got Fastlane 2 weeks before WrestleMania. You could have did anything. You could have did Bryan and Cesaro versus Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. Or if Jimmy's back, you could have did Bryan and Cesaro versus the Usos in a main event match. You could have did Edge and Christian versus Drew McIntyre and, I don't know, Matt Riddle. Something. You didn't need to give us championship matches at all. You could have had Edge and Christian on Monday Night Raw. Christian playing up the fact that he's back to support Edge. You got Drew McIntyre. You could have somebody tag with Keith Lee. You could have did Edge and Christian versus Drew McIntyre and Keith Lee at Fastlane. Two major tag team matches headlining your Fastlane pay-per-view that don't really need to have WrestleMania implications, but it has WrestleMania implications there, you know? So that's the way I would have did it. But WWE didn't do that. They didn't even give you an idea of that. Now where we are is Bobby Lashley potentially winning the WWE Championship. So what happens when he wins the championship? Which he should. We got Brock Lesnar's name looming. Drew McIntyre more than likely is going to have to fight his way back into contention. WWE, if you guys remember, had Sheamus pin Drew McIntyre in that gauntlet match to get the 6th chamber spot on Sunday's pay-per-view. He pinned Drew McIntyre while he was still WWE champion. I know if I'm Sheamus, I'm going to management and saying, hey, I pinned this guy while he was champion. I should be ahead of him. Then you use Sheamus in the role he's been given on this show. You got Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus as an undercard match going into Fastlane. You put that match on Fastlane. You have McIntyre beat Sheamus in a very competitive match. McIntyre goes on to get his WWE Championship match. And then lo and behold, Brock Lesnar comes back on Monday Night Raw. Whoa. You got Fastlane and all of this happening. And then you have Brock Lesnar come back on that Monday Night Raw following Fastlane. You know, he's going to ask, where's my title shot? I'm owed a title shot. Why? Because he's fucking Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar's already probably guaranteed a rematch. He just decided to take the entire fucking year off. He's Brock Lesnar. He can do and say and ask for anything he wants. So they are going to include him in the triple threat match. Drew McIntyre thinks he's got Bobby Lashley and Bobby Lashley alone, but he comes and now confronts Drew McIntyre and now conveniently Bobby Lashley, being that he's got the WWE title. So this gives us a triple threat match at WrestleMania. Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, and Brock Lesnar. You get the Lashley-Lesnar component. Then you got the McIntyre-Lesnar component feeding off last year, this time in front of fans. And then you got Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley, that component coming out of the Elimination Chamber. All components go together flawlessly. So there's your triple threat match. I'm not an advocate for triple threat matches. I would rather a one-on-one match. But that's the main event of WrestleMania on one of the nights. And I'm going to say it again. Bobby Lashley winning the WWE title and defending that title only against Drew McIntyre does not signify a WrestleMania main event. To me, if you're putting that match on WrestleMania, at best, it's an undercard match. It's not a main event match. We've seen it. We've seen it already. Good. But it's only good for a main event spot at a B or C level pay-per-view, not a WrestleMania. Brock Lesnar being included makes it a WrestleMania main event. This is where we are. There's nobody on that program that is WrestleMania worthy to be in the main event. Nobody. Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre does not make it a main event by the way Bobby Lashley has been booked creatively. It doesn't do it. It's not enough. You need that extra push into the main event realm. Brock Lesnar is that extra fucking push. Never mind a push. He's a goddamn fucking shoulder tackle. That's the way it is. I don't want to hear it again. I would have not given The Miz the WWE Championship. This is a joke. The Miz being champion is a fucking joke. Then he's going out there saying he deserves to be on Mount Rushmore, how everybody in the back was, oh yeah, man, you deserve it. No, The Miz doesn't deserve it. He's been booked creatively like a class clown. Yet you want to hear that he deserves it? All these geeks in the community coming out and supporting The Miz, he deserves it, ha 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 ha. They're only saying it because they know it sucks. They know it sucks and that everybody hates it. That's why they like it. It doesn't work that way. WrestleMania should have been very easy to book. I've done it a handful of times. Yet this is where we are. The Saturday before Raw, The Miz is the WWE champion. I don't grasp how anybody thinks this is right. You know, the champion should be the guy that is head and shoulders above everybody else. If you're going to come to me and tell me that The Miz is the best you got on Monday Night Raw as champion, then why would anybody go out there and watch that fucking program? The Miz does not signify the best. Someone like Roman Reigns signifies the best. Now, I could be jumping the gun here, man. We could be sitting here and Drew McIntyre is not going to factor into anything. I don't know what Bruce Pritchard is thinking. I don't know what Vince McMahon is thinking. For all we know, they may be done with the Drew McIntyre experiment and they may come back to him at a later date and never mind WrestleMania. Maybe they feel that Drew McIntyre doesn't deserve another main event WrestleMania match. Maybe they feel like he's done enough with the WWE Championship. And the only way that WrestleMania could be important coming out of last year, and the only way that they could make WrestleMania this year different is by putting the title on Bobby Lashley. That's why Lesnar comes in and that's your main event on one of the nights. I don't know. It's a very difficult situation to really guess as to where WWE is going because I've said it all the time, WWE doesn't even know where they're going. But then where does that leave Drew McIntyre? So I'm under the assumption that if you don't include McIntyre, then where does he actually fit on the show? He's beaten everybody. I don't think John Cena's coming back, so we can't get a John Cena-Drew McIntyre match. Maybe he goes against Goldberg again. I don't know. There's nothing for the guy to do. He has to be in that match for him to really solidify WrestleMania for him. Otherwise, there's nothing for him to do. It's a very, very, very easy situation, even with the major creative fuck-up here by WWE. Triple threat match is the best way to go. And Bobby Lashley has not been built up over the entire year, pretty much coming out of last year's WrestleMania. Bobby Lashley hasn't been built up to get a one-on-one match with Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania, folks. This is not the reason why Bobby Lashley has been booked better than anybody on Monday Night Raw for the last calendar year. It's not for Drew McIntyre. Something bigger than Drew McIntyre. You don't put so much effort into building someone like they've done Lashley, which is a rarity nowadays, for Drew fucking McIntyre. It's Brock Lesnar. This is the only thing that makes sense. So you got McIntyre, Lashley, Lesnar. Then you got Reigns and Edge, which is another fucking problem in its own right. I don't even see that as a WrestleMania main event. Not over what I pitched. So we got those two matches squared away. Then we got the women's championship situations. We don't know where that is going. WWE probably doesn't have a clue as to where anything else fits on this show. We are going into March, 5 weeks before WrestleMania, and WWE has nothing nailed down. Absolutely nothing. This entire card on both nights should be written in pencil already. So we'll see what happens, man. Lesnar set for a huge WrestleMania match. It is absolutely Lesnar, Lashley, and McIntyre as the right decision. Matt Riddle just won the United States Championship from said Bobby Lashley. He's the new United States Champion. there was rumor going around that Matt Riddle re-signed with the WWE for a greater sum of money than he was originally offered. Turned it down. WWE came back with a bigger offer. I got a follow-up on that story. Matt Riddle was actually unable to score a higher WWE contract offer. Matt Riddle signed the new WWE deal, but there was some negotiating that needed to happen first. It was initially reported that Matt Riddle was offered a deal from WWE worth $400,000 per year. It was said that he was trying to talk that number up, and there was some question whether he signed the contract or not. The Wrestling Observer newsletter confirmed that Riddle's deal is a 3-year agreement worth $1.2 million. That equals out to the original report of $400,000 per year that he was offered, and he was not able to secure a higher offer. Now, Riddle did officially sign his 3-year deal at $1.2 million over 3 years, and him getting the United States title kind of solidified him re-signing with the company. Riddle was given the United States Championship after signing his new deal. Vince McMahon will often do this type of thing where he will coax someone into signing. They may be lingering on a contract year, a couple of months before their contract runs out. He pushes them to a certain level, gives them a championship, and then when they sign the dotted line, Vince knows he's got them tied up for 3 or 5 years, in this case 3 years, takes the championship away from them, and then books them into oblivion, or books them into oblivion. So in this case, it's Matt Riddle winning the United States Championship, I would assume as a, hey man, we're happy to have you. Thank you for staying committed to the WWE brand. Here's the United States Championship. And I mean, here's another fucking side note. WWE didn't take the United States Championship of Bobby Lashley to him or for him to not win the WWE Championship. I mean, all of it just doesn't make sense if he doesn't win it. So Matt Riddle, you know, the one question is, how long before WWE starts to really suppress the original bro? I don't know. I'm happy for him. I think Matt Riddle has the makings of a top-tier guy. If they book Matt Riddle to be less comical and less like a geek, the guy could clearly go in the ring. I think everybody watching the program knows what he can do in the ring. That should be the most, you know, the one thing that should be accentuated most in this situation. What he does in the ring. He's got a very lovable attitude. He's got a very comical attitude where you want to laugh with him, not at him. But the way WWE portrays it, they almost script him in a way where they want us to laugh at him and not with him. Less of the comedy and more of the seriousness. That's what I want. They finally started to do that with Big E. Finally. Big E shedding the strutting and the gyrating and the unicorns and the pancakes and all these sexual innuendos. His feud with Apollo Crews is probably the best thing on WWE television next to whatever Roman Reigns is doing. And he's more serious while doing it. That's what Matt Riddle needs to do. But WWE hasn't shown that yet. I never want Matt Riddle to be 100% serious. I just want him to be less cheesy on WWE television. It's almost as if, like I said, they're scripting him so that they get a laugh at him and not with him. They're not booking positively in his direction. That's just the way I see it. But Matt Riddle was unable to score a higher deal. And keep in mind, he's got 3 years, not the 5 years that WWE signs people up long-term. 3 years. So I don't know if that's a Matt Riddle deal or if that is a WWE deal where they're only giving out 3-year deals, which I don't think is the case. I think it's more on Matt Riddle's side that he only wanted 3 years, but WWE kind of succumbed to giving him 3 years when they really wanted 5 years because they didn't want to lose him to a New Japan or an AEW. So they gave in to what Matt Riddle wanted, and they figured, you know what, better to give him what he wants to keep him here instead of him going over there. So it's very interesting that's only 3 years and not 5 years. Where is Riddle going to be in 3 years? Nobody knows. It's going to be a little bit older. It's going to be a little bit better, a little bit more qualified in the ring. If he is not really making a believer out of you, who knows? He may make a believer out of you in 3 years. I don't know. Maybe he feels like this is the proper place for him to be right now because it's going to get him to the next level, and it's going to make him worth more money in the end if he wants to go somewhere else. Hey, man, I was making this over there. Now I know I'm worth more. So we'll see what happens with Matt Riddle. I wish him nothing but the best. I think he's one of the best things about the brand, but even him and how great he is and can be, I don't think anything can save Monday Night Raw. Big Show, Paul Wight, is not going to, quote-unquote, save AEW. It's going to an extent, but Paul Wight joining AEW is not going to be, oh my God, I gotta go out there and watch AEW Dynamite. This was the big news coming out of the wrestling world this week. Shockingly, we woke up on Wednesday morning and Big Show was signing an AEW contract. He's now all elite. Big Show, Paul Wight, is now a part of the AEW roster. He will be on commentary with Tony Schiavone for a new AEW dark show called Elevation. Very curious to see what that show will be about. Apparently, it's going to highlight all the missed opportunities that several people of that roster are not getting. You're going to see some AEW major stars on that show. You're going to see the best of the indies on that show, according to Tony Khan. Paul Wight and Tony Schiavone will be handling the commentary for that show. Going to be very interesting. But as everybody woke up on Wednesday morning, they were all shocked as AEW announced its latest signee. Many thought Wight would be WWE for life. Jesse and I talked about this on Wednesday's post-show. We both thought Paul Wight was one of those guys that has spent so many years with Vince McMahon that he is never going to go anywhere. Many thought, just like we did, that he was a lifer in WWE, so it was shocking to see him announced as the newest member of AEW and a part of the AEW Dark Elevation TV show. According to recent reports, WWE talent felt a similar way. It was reported on Fightful Select that a lot of talent and people backstage in WWE had no idea of Paul Wight's move. Now, while it was noted that there was no apparent chorus of goodbyes headed towards the direction of Paul Wight, some people higher up in WWE reportedly revealed that they knew Wight wouldn't be with the WWE in any capacity at the end of February. Similarly, in the AEW locker room, they were just as surprised as anybody else on social media to learn of Paul Wight's signing. The reaction is generally positive, with many AEW stars willing to learn from the Big Show. It was mentioned that although AEW sources claimed they knew nothing of Wight's signing, some talent is more in the know than others. With AEW's acquisition of Sting in December, most knew nothing of Sting's AEW plans until they watched it unfold live. Talent closer to Tony Khan, like Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, and others, they were directly involved in signing Sting, so that debut was, no doubt about it, in secret, because they weren't going to say anything to anybody, being that all of their money resides in the vice presidents. Who are they going to go out there and tell? Talent closer like Kenny Omega, Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes probably did the same thing here with Big Show. Fightful's report noted that a source close to Wight had revealed that recent major life events had influenced his decision to ultimately sign with AEW. Now, he just sold his house. He was very unhappy with the way he was booked on Raw Legends Night, especially coming out of a major feud with Randy Orton, while Orton was feuding with Edge, going into their greatest wrestling match that never was. And his Netflix show got canceled after one season. So he was kind of riding on a sea of low. He had no momentum. His ego might have been damaged a little bit. So in swoops Tony Khan, offers him more money, nobody knows how much, more money than WWE offered him, signs a new deal, commentator for AEW Dark Elevation, and Tony Khan admitted that, listen, Big Show is not only going to commentate, but he will wrestle when I see fit. So he's now back on TNT, just like Sting was during the Monday Night Wars. Wight will commentate on the new weekly show, and he will get back in the ring, as stated by Tony Khan. The backstage reaction didn't really come off as anything big. WWE higher-ups knew that Paul Wight was probably not going to be working with them after February. So when the news was announced that he was with AEW, I guess nobody was shocked. Nobody was surprised at all. Now, I mentioned this with Jesse on Wednesday. Does this potentially harm Paul Wight's legacy in WWE? For the time being, it does. They excommunicated everybody. And rightfully so. WWE does what they want. They don't want any lingering aspects of the enemy on their programming, whether it be in the intro or on their website or anything. Moxley's name is never uttered. Dean Ambrose is never really uttered. Then you got Sting. All his shit was pulled off WWE's shop. Jericho is never mentioned anymore. Paul Wight will probably go through the same hazing period here for the next 3 or 5 years, however long he signed with AEW. But right now, his reputation in WWE, whether the higher-ups or management is shocked or not, he's non-existent to them. He is dead to them that he went to AEW. But the guy had a lot more left to give, he says. So where do you want him to go? He had to make a decision for himself. If WWE was booking this guy correctly, which I'm glad that they're not because he shouldn't be in the ring, period. But if he wanted to be booked a little bit better on Legends Night coming out of a feud with Randy Orton, then why didn't you book him fucking better on Legends Night? Give him something to do. Clearly, WWE didn't give a fuck about losing him. That's why they let him go. They didn't really make a push to have Paul Wight big show on Monday night or Friday night or with the WWE. How much value is there left in Paul Wight? Not much. If WWE is showing Paul Wight that, then the fans are probably going to utter that same sentiment. Tony Khan is in business to make AEW a household name. Paul Wight's name value is a household commodity in pro wrestling, especially with that lapsed fan on TNT. He's not using Paul Wight to bring Paul Wight in to give him championships or have him run roughshod over all the young talent and bury all the young talent because we got to push Big Show. No, he's using his name value. He's not coming in to win the AEW title from Kenny Omega. He's not going to win the TNT title from Darby Allin. I hope he doesn't win any championships, period. That's not his job. But the name value that Paul Wight is getting, or Tony Khan, I should say, is getting out of Paul Wight, is for that lapsed fan. Simple. WWE doesn't really need that because their mentality in WWE is we're pushing legends. We don't trust anybody under the age of 45. And we need who we trust at the top. They don't trust any of the young kids on Monday or Friday night. Everybody that you see pushed in a major program, you will rarely see someone young. Rarely. You're lucky you got Keith Lee. You're lucky you got Matt Riddle. You're lucky you got Damien Priest. You're lucky you got Bianca Belair and getting Rhea Ripley now. They pick and choose who they want to push. Everybody else has been buried. And even all those names that I mentioned, they're over 35. They're not really spring chickens. Except Bianca Belair. She just turned 30. But she's not in her 20s anymore. WWE is not pushing anybody under the age of 45 at the top of their card. They don't trust anybody. So when they give off those vibes, it's different than what AEW is doing. AEW is pushing the future. They're bringing in the legends and the guys like Sting and Paul Wight to help mold the younger talent. They're bringing in a Paul Wight and a Sting to bring back that fan that doesn't watch anymore. Fans don't watch WWE because they don't push the future. Meanwhile, AEW is looking to bring that fan back to use the legends so that the legends can rub off on the future and people can become familiar with the legends working with the future. That's the way it's been, or at least from what I surmise, in Tony Khan's vision. Paul Wight is going to add to AEW, not as far as an in-ring aspect. As far as an in-ring aspect, he's dead to me. I don't want people to misconstrue what I'm saying here about Paul Wight. Paul Wight should not be in a pro wrestling ring anymore. The guy can barely fucking walk. Okay? I don't remember the last time I actually thoroughly enjoyed a Paul Wight match. He may be one of the greatest big men of all time. Use that moniker. Use that aura greatest big man of all time, one of the greatest big men of all time, and mold the future big men on that AEW roster. You don't need to be in the ring anymore. 99% of this signing, I want to see behind the commentary molding the young talent. 1% when it is necessary, I want to see you in the ring. I don't want it to be 50-50. I don't want it to be 70-30. I don't want it to be 60-40. I want it to be 99-1. Because that's where his value is going to be. His value as an in-ring performer, nobody wants to see that. If you want to see that, you're kidding yourself. There's a reason why I shit on this guy for years. He offers nothing as far as an in-ring aspect. Every time he's in the ring, it gives me visions of what WWE does on weekly television. All they care about is pushing people that aren't under 45 years old. I don't want to see it. For TNT, it's a great move. It's a familiar face. For AEW bringing back that lapsed fan, it's a great move. It brings back that familiar face. As far as him being in AEW, his value will be as a coach, as a mentor to all the young kids in AEW. There's nobody better to learn from. Simple. You want to mold the big men of the future? That's the guy you talk to. In his prime, he was one of the best ever. But him coming to AEW and being in the squared circle, it doesn't really appeal to anybody. It actually does the opposite. Big time. Because Paul Wight coming, kind of, you take a step back and think of AEW's vision. That's not AEW's vision. The normal idiot's not going to get that. I have to explain it to you. But from the normie looking at this, from the outside looking in, it's going to be like, oh, look, they're a WWE landfill. I don't want to hear that conversation at all. I don't want to hear anybody utter Paul Wight coming into AEW is AEW signing WWE has-beens. Give me a break. AEW bringing in Paul Wight is a business move. WWE pushing 45-year-old plus talent at WrestleMania season during WrestleMania time is WWE showing you that they don't trust anybody. And it's all politically driven. You do not see the youth up and down that WrestleMania card. We should be seeing the Ricochets and the Adam Coles and all the young kids getting ready for big-time WrestleMania matches. We're not. WWE doesn't give a shit about the future. They care about who's going to make them the most money. They are afraid to push because to them, if you ain't a John Cena or if you aren't an Undertaker or this or that, and you don't make them any money, forget about it. But they don't put any resources or effort into booking anybody to even get to that point of discussion anyway. Paul Wight coming into AEW is not like WWE and what they do. AEW, it's business. WWE, it's politically driven. WWE's roster up and down is full of indie superstars that you once upon a time loved. 90% of their roster are hired guns from the independent scene. How many talents in WWE on their roster right now could you legitimately say are homegrown talent? Not many. Everybody that you see was in a New Japan or an Impact or a Lucha Underground or this and that. Nobody's homegrown. Or on the indies. WWE is scooping everybody up because they don't want to mold for the future in-house. They can't. They have so many hours of television that they need to bring everybody in. And then they bring everybody in. Half of them don't even get used, but they bring everybody in because they don't want those people to go somewhere else. WWE feels that they would be better under their watch. This is a big move. It's not going to be groundbreaking. This is not going to shake the fucking foundations of AEW or anything like that. No cheesy fucking sayings or quotes from Tony Khan. It's not going to shake the foundation of AEW. This is a business move for TNT. Paul Wight's going to be a face, PR face of AEW. Sting is going to be a PR face of AEW. They got another television show. We're going to get 4 shows a week from AEW. 2 on YouTube, 2 Darks, and 2 TNT shows. That's their vision. And they need legends. They need faces that fans are familiar with so that those fans can familiarize themselves with AEW if they have not done that already. So cut the shit. I'm not for the move, but I'm also not an idiot. I get it. I know why they did it. This is not WWE, folks. Tony Khan, AEW, with them bringing in Big Show, Paul Wight, and Sting. There's a reason behind it. It's all business, and it's not the business that you think, them coming on in and winning championships. It's a good business move for that lapsed fan. Moving on with the rest of the show, man, we got all of the weekly breakdown to go over. Smackdown, Raw, NXT, and AEW. Let's start with Smackdown. Smackdown ratings were actually up following the Elimination Chamber. Smackdown averaged 2.217 million viewers, which was up 11.4% from the previous week. That number was the third lowest the show has done so far this year. The rating in the 18 to 49 demo was 0.59. That is up 3.5% from the previous week. The show finished second in that demo on both network TV and all of TV for the night. In the 18 to 34, the show did a 0.35, also second, trailing ABC's Shark Tank in both categories. In total viewers, Fox was a distant fourth on the night, as no other network averaged below 3.2 million viewers. Year over year, SmackDown was down 10.8% in viewers. They were also down 15.7% in the 18 to 49 demo and 30% in the 18 to 34 demo, meaning the show continues to skew older than it did in 2020. This was the go-home show for Sunday's Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, which featured a six-man tag full of all the competitors in the SmackDown Chamber. Now, as far as SmackDown goes, wasn't all that exciting outside of one thing, and one thing in particular. And I'm not talking about Roman Reigns and Edge. They came face-to-face, and Roman Reigns let Edge kind of know off camera, or I would say off microphone, about what he should do. He backed away. He was very respectful, at least in the beginning of the show, to Mr. Edge. They came face-to-face. But what I'm talking about is Apollo Crews. Now, Apollo Crews lost to Shinsuke Nakamura on SmackDown. Very quickly, I should say. And then Apollo Crews was angered by Big E, was angered by losing. He turned heel on Big E, and this is the best Apollo Crews has looked pretty much in all of his main roster WWE run. Gone is the smiley Titus Catering VIP executive chef known as Apollo Crews. And I said it on Friday, I'm going to say it again. This has Paul Heyman DNA written all over it. The attack with the steel steps, the referee berating Apollo Crews to put the steel steps down, him dropping it over the top rope onto Big E, who is laying injured on the floor outside. I loved it. This was fantastic stuff. The back and forth between Apollo and Big E has been the best thing, not only on SmackDown, but probably the best thing on all of WWE television, including Monday Night Raw. You could not pay me to care about anything on Monday Night Raw. It is that bad. Reigns and everything Reigns has done, and this Apollo Big E storyline for the Intercontinental Championship. Excellent stuff. I would not be surprised if Paul Heyman's DNA is all over this thing. I thought it was great. Seth Rollins pledged to destroy anyone who stands in his way. Yada, yada, yada. Seth Rollins saying the same shit that he said before he went away. So we'll see what happens there. Obviously, the tease a couple of weeks back of Seth Rollins and Daniel Bryan potentially at WrestleMania is still looming. We'll see what happens there. Cesaro could really be in line for a major match against Seth Rollins going into the Fastlane pay-per-view. So we'll see what happens there. That is very interesting indeed. Natalya and Tamina, another glued together with Elmer's glue tag team on WWE television. They defeated the Riot Squad. Do you care? I know I don't. The tag team titles are worthless. The best thing for WWE to do next week, because the match is made, Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez should and will defeat Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, and those tag team titles will stay, if WWE knows what they're doing, in NXT. Because the main roster right now is awful when it comes to tag team pairings in that women's division. Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks, and someone who I find overly annoying as of late, Reginald, and not for the right reasons. They defeated Bayley, Nia Jax, and Shayna Baszler. First of all, why are Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler in anything that Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks are doing? That's number one. They're getting ready to lose those tag team championships to a much more superior team on NXT, a team that's been actually together for months now. And B, why is Reginald, a male, mixing it up with females when WWE knowingly does not book intergender matches the correct way? And why are you booking him in a women's division where that spot could easily go to anybody else standing next to champion and more than likely challenger for the SmackDown Women's Championship? I don't really understand that. I think this Reginald deal is played out. Get him out of there. I know it's all part of a storyline. I don't know where Carmella fits into this right now. We may get Bianca Belair versus Carmella at Fastlane for all we know. But I know something nefarious is going on there, but I don't care for it. I don't really care for it. Maybe this is just WWE's way of keeping Carmella in discussion for the SmackDown Women's title. But him mixing it up with the women, that's got to come to an end immediately. So that happened on SmackDown. Otis and Chad Gable, I'm not really set to call them heel yet. They went up against Rey Mysterio and Dominic. Otis was very heelish, but very comical. At the same time, Chad Gable was telling him to go after the Mysterios. He destroyed both the Mysterios and what everybody's calling a heel turn for Otis and Chad Gable. I don't think so, but we'll find out more this week on SmackDown. And then Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens, and Cesaro defeated Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and King Corbin ahead of the Elimination Chamber. And that is where we got it solidified that Roman Reigns and Edge, more than likely, will get their WrestleMania match for the Universal Championship. It was that tease and then whatever happened on Sunday at the Elimination Chamber, which was solidified as far as the Universal title match goes at WrestleMania. SmackDown was utterly boring outside of the Apollo Crews situation, which I thought was fantastic stuff. Now, I mentioned Cesaro in the beginning of the show. Cesaro could actually be in line for a major Road to WrestleMania. Is it deserved? Absolutely. I don't think there's anybody in my circle or anybody that I listen to or anybody that listens to me that doesn't think Cesaro deserves a shot. He absolutely deserves a shot. He's too good. He should have been there years ago. And WWE dropped the ball. Why are they pushing him now? Is it contract negotiations? Do they want to get him signed, sealed, and delivered now? And they're promising him a bigger role on the show in order to sign a contract? I don't know. I doubt Vince McMahon woke up one day, hey, Bruce, we got to push Cesaro. I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think that's the case at all. Cesaro's the type of guy Bruce shuns. This is all Daniel Bryan. Cesaro being pushed is majority Daniel Bryan influenced. But he could be in line for a major WrestleMania match. We don't know. Cesaro signed the new contract with WWE, and with this came a bit of a push, but that's what usually happens. He's getting a spotlight, and plenty of fans are all about it, like I said. Cesaro did not win at the Elimination Chamber. Came very close, but did not win. But a number of fans really wanted him to win and get an opportunity at Roman Reigns. Now, Daniel Bryan ended up winning the Chamber, which I didn't really understand, and I hope we get some clarity on that on SmackDown this week. But you guys are listening to this after you watch SmackDown. To me, it's before SmackDown, so I don't know at this time I'm recording this where Daniel Bryan sits into this Roman Reigns shit. We may get that one-off match at Fastlane. I have no idea. But Daniel Bryan winning the Chamber was not the way I would go about it. I would have easily gave it to Cesaro, predictable as it may have been, given it to Cesaro and make him look like a Swiss Superman, legitimately taking Roman Reigns to the brink of defeat, even after he was in the Chamber for 30 minutes. That would have fit Cesaro's character much more than Daniel Bryan. But Daniel Bryan, he was the come-from-behind babyface who was injured in the match, and Roman Reigns took advantage of that. Why? Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan are much better than a Fastlane one-off. That's just me. You may think otherwise. I thought Cesaro would have been perfect for that. Then you can run back Cesaro and Roman Reigns, and that's it. That's it. It would have been beneficial for all involved. Daniel Bryan, where does he fit in? I don't give a shit. As long as we're not giving a one-off vibe with Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns at Fastlane. Because then Reigns is going to go on to Edge, and what happens with Daniel Bryan? That deserves months of storyline. Because they have a deep-rooted history there. So during Wrestling Observer, it was noted by Meltzer that WWE could still factor Cesaro into a big match on the road to WrestleMania. Fastlane is wide open right now, and no match has been booked for Roman Reigns. There is also a concern that fans might not see it as believable that Cesaro would beat Roman Reigns at this point anyway. I think that was always the case, or always the point going in. It's WWE's job to make it a believable story. Like, I don't think anybody believed Jey Uso was going to beat Roman Reigns. I don't think anybody believed Kevin Owens was going to beat Roman Reigns. Same thing goes for Cesaro. I don't think anybody believes Cesaro is going to beat Roman Reigns. Same thing with Edge. Edge should not beat Roman Reigns, geeks. Roman Reigns has been in situations that have been overly predictable, but why have we not cared? Because the story was so great. Just give it to Paul Heyman. Cesaro's a former Paul Heyman guy. Just give it to Paul Heyman. He'll write it. He'll make it make sense. He'll make it believable, even though we know Cesaro's not going to beat Roman. Who gives a shit? It's about the story that they tell. It's about the story that they produce in the ring. I don't give a fuck if it's predictable or not. Book the match. Book the match. Would the world be better without Cesaro and Reigns in the ring or with it? Just do it. Reigns and Edge confirmed for Mania. Which neither means, with Reigns and Edge, it doesn't matter. Either match here, it doesn't matter what is predictable and what's not predictable. Reigns has to have a title match. I'm assuming WWE's mentality is Reigns has to have a title match at Fastlane. I wouldn't book it that way. Why do you want the championships on Raw and SmackDown defended 2 weeks before WrestleMania? That doesn't really make sense to me. Tag team matches are where it's at. We could see Jey Uso and Roman versus Daniel Bryan and Cesaro. We could see Jimmy and Jay, if Jimmy's back by then, versus Daniel Bryan and Cesaro. We could get Reigns on the outside, not necessarily being in the match wrestling. Why would you want him to wrestle? Then he goes on to WrestleMania and does his thing with Edge. Where does Cesaro and Daniel Bryan fit into this situation? Listen, if Daniel Bryan is in line for a title shot, we could get Daniel Bryan and Roman going into SummerSlam. Cesaro could be that right before this summer type of feud for Roman Reigns. But what do you do with Bryan and Cesaro at WrestleMania? How do you give them a big WrestleMania match? You keep them involved here. You keep them involved here because one story is going to transcend into the other. If Bryan and Reigns potentially could be booked for SummerSlam and Cesaro could be saved for a nice little chunk of the summer right before the summer hits, going into June, July, why not save it for that? Why are you going to do with these one-offs? Why do these one-offs? If it's predictable then, it's going to be predictable after WrestleMania. So do your Roman Edge match. The Usos, I'm hoping Jimmy is back by then. He'll join Jay. Hell, book Jimmy and Jey Uso versus Daniel Bryan and Cesaro at WrestleMania. Seth Rollins, what does he do? Well, he's teased the match with Cesaro. He's teased the match with Daniel Bryan. Fuck it, you could always go back to that. It doesn't necessarily have to be at WrestleMania with either of those guys. It doesn't have to be Rollins and Bryan at WrestleMania, even though it is a WrestleMania match. Save it. Save it. Do Big E versus Seth Rollins for the IC title. That's a WrestleMania match to me. I've been booking that for months now. We got to start making WrestleMania feel like WrestleMania. I just booked 4 guys in a tag team match to get them on the show. That actually means something and will go into their next feuds. Seth Rollins mentioned Big E on SmackDown. He was being carted away on a fucking gurney. That's a match right there. So I just gave 6 guys on SmackDown a WrestleMania match where right now there's nothing booked. So who's doing their job and who's not doing their job? Why am I giving out this advice for free? I should be a fucking therapist. The pro wrestling therapist. Reigns is facing Edge at Mania, which either means no title match for him until then, or they do something to pay off Reigns and Cesaro with the idea of Cesaro winning and him getting a match against Edge, which I don't think people would take seriously, but who gives a shit? Just do it. Roman Reigns is an incredibly dominating champion, and it would take a lot to get the Universal Championship off of him. Cesaro has what it takes to be a champion, but listen, we're talking about Roman Reigns here. Roman Reigns is at the top of the game. Not even the almighty Adam Copeland is going to beat Roman Reigns. Edge is not, nor should he be, Universal Champion. Get out of here. Roman wins. There's only one outcome here. Roman wins. Edge, go cry me a river of tears. AEW Dynamite. Their ratings are in with NXT. They ranked number 5 on cable. AEW, not NXT. And NXT came in with number 24 on the top 150 cable. Dynamite drew 831,000 live viewers. NXT did 734,000 live viewers. Last week, AEW did 747, and NXT drew 713. So both shows were up. AEW ranked number 5. NXT ranked number 24. In the 18 to 49 demo, AEW did a 0.35. NXT did a 0.18. All other demos went to AEW except the precious ages 50 plus. You know the prune juice drinkers and the old age home fucking 50 plus. NXT did a 0.40 to AEW 0.29. So that's that. So AEW, they had a very good show. Big Show was not on the show. We got Lance Archer beating Rey Fenix in a match to qualify for their ladder match. We got Papa Buck being destroyed by the Inner Circle, Jericho and MJF. Adam Page continuing his storyline with Matt Hardy. We got Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley being booked quite nicely for their exploding death match at Revolution for the world title. Revolution is looking like a great show, man. Dynamite was a very good show that progressed nicely on Wednesday night. Not overly exciting, but it did the job. It did the job. Their backstage segments were really top-notch on Dynamite this week. If you guys want my complete thoughts on AEW, obviously the post show is live on the channel right now with Jesse. We break into more than anything the big show. So it was much more than what I mentioned here. So if you guys want to go check that out, please go do so. But I did catch up on NXT like I usually do every Thursday on the WWE Network. I wait till it hits the WWE Network. No commercials involved. It is my ideal viewing situation. Dexter Loomis, my boy Dexter Loomis, man. He is getting geared up for big things. I don't know how anybody looks at Dexter Loomis and doesn't see Superstar. I just don't understand it. The guy works very Randy Orton-esque. He's got very Randy Orton, Undertaker-esque vibes to him. He's got a great look. He knows how to wrestle. He doesn't speak, which keeps the aura of the character involved. He's always in character. He looks the part. He feels the part. He's great in the ring. I don't know why you wouldn't push this guy the way he needs to be pushed. Dexter Loomis defeated Johnny Gargano in a non-title match for the North American title. I don't understand this. Why do we have champions losing on television to get the challenger a number 1 contender match? Now Dexter Loomis is a number 1 contender for the North American title. Why did he have to go and do that to get a championship match? Can't Dexter Loomis get that by, I don't know, accumulating wins? Why is Johnny Gargano losing? The only time Johnny Gargano should be losing is when you want him to lose the North American title, not a non-title match. This is very Bruce. Paul, we don't need more Bruce on Wednesday nights. It's not the type of guy you want to be emulating, okay? Fucking ridiculous, man. This was a circus. Austin Theory needs to go to therapy. Indy Hartwell developed a crush for Dexter Loomis. This was a circus on the outside. Loomis eventually rallied, including a bulldog slingshot suplex. And obviously Gargano, he was dropped with a side slam and then the submission move that Dexter Loomis usually puts on. I don't know what he calls it, but that was it. Goodbye. Made him tap out with silence, I believe it's called. Silence is what it's called. I wish this fucking situation with champions losing on television was fucking silenced. Isaiah Scott, he attacked Leon Ruff. Good. Get him out of here. Io Shirai defeated Zoe Stark in a non-title match. Pretty good showing for Zoe Stark. My God, man, when WWE wants you to be on somebody, they will let you know who they want you to be on. Zoe Stark is 2 weeks in. She's already in the ring with Io Shirai. That's after she had a very impressive debut against a nobody last week. Then Shawn Michaels comes out on social media and hypes her up to no end. And then she's in the ring with Io Shirai. Very good match. She does a lot of things right. And Zoe Stark does one thing right, more so than anything else. She's physical. She makes you understand that she's in there to pro wrestle and beat the shit out of somebody. That I appreciate. We just got to get her some different color attire, man. She comes out wearing that, what was she wearing? Blue? No, like this teal blue, leathery outfit, bottoms in a top. She looks like a fucking enhancement talent. Let's get her some actual fucking gimmicks and clothes, please. So the match was fine. Toni Storm came out after Io did the moonsault from the top rope. Toni Storm demanded a one-on-one opportunity. You know, I've been coming out here challenging and you've been ducking me. So Io Shirai said, you want the match? You got it. 2 weeks from NXT on Wednesday, we got Io Shirai versus Toni Storm. Does Io drop the title to Toni Storm? I'm not feeling Toni Storm's heel gimmick. She just comes off as a babyface to me, man. It feels like her heel gimmick is very forced. I don't know what it is. I just don't see her as a heel. So we'll see what happens there. Xia Li defeated Casey Catanzaro via referee stoppage. You know, man, I'm looking at this Xia Li situation for all you NXT heads out there. I'm looking at this Xia Li situation. The whole overly produced entrance with the mystical creature or mystical, whatever the fuck you want to call it. This 1,000-year-old fucking entity that's sitting in the goddamn throne that Triple H apparently has loaned her. Sitting on the throne, on the stage, you got Boa acting like a bodyguard. They come out, looks like a fucking fight scene from Mortal Kombat. Where is this going? Who is this 1,000-year-old entity? Who is it? And why am I to believe this is going anywhere but NXT? Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard see this. Forget about it. 98% of this fucking shtick would be cut. They tell this 1,000-year-old entity to go back into its frozen tomb somewhere. You fucking kidding me? How does anybody look at this and say, hey, man, I can't wait for this to be on the main roster? This won't be on the main roster. Why? Because the presentation may be cool to you. To these 60, 70-year-old geeks on the main roster, they won't understand it. And my God, if you take away from Charlotte Flair's entrance, I mean, give me a break. You got Charlotte and Sasha as the end-all, be-all entrances for the women. Does any other woman on the main roster get an elaborate entrance like those two? No. You mean to tell me Xia Li with their Mortal Kombat-esque fucking masks and karate moves are going to come out there with the 1,000-year-old entity and take away from Miss Flair? Come on, bro. This is being set up to fail right now. I feel bad for Xia Li. She's probably fucking sitting pretty. Hey, man, look at all the fucking production they're giving me, man. They must believe in me. Oh, you haven't seen anything yet, honey. Give me a break. When Bruce takes a look at you and finds out that you can barely speak English, goodbye. Done. You could do all the Mortal Kombat fatalities you want. You ain't going anywhere, man. Bruce has got his own fucking Mortal Kombat fatality. It's called Burial. You don't want to know what that's about. It's the most gruesome in Mortal Kombat history. Xia Li defeated Casey. That was it. Pretty much a squash match just to get over how dominant Xia Li is. The grizzled young veterans defeated Killian Dane and Drake Maverick, as they should. MSK is setting up for a match against the grizzled young veterans. More than likely, MSK are going to be the new WWE Tag Team Champions. I'd love to know where the Tag Team Champions are. Where are Breezango? If you guys were unaware, Breezango is the NXT Tag Team Champions. But MSK, man, I gotta say this about MSK. They are very NXT-esque. Very NXT. That was a great signing by Triple H. Karrion Kross defeated Santos Escobar in a non-title cruiserweight match, which was a no disqualification match. These two were on the outside of the building fighting in front of a big rig truck, which looked great. So Karrion Kross was in a 3-on-1 situation in the parking lot. They went to the ring and they led Kross back into the CWC. Escobar eventually let his guard down. That allowed Kross to overpower not only Escobar, but Joaquin Wilde and Raul Mendoza, sending them both through the ringside plexiglass in a dominating display of power by Karrion Kross. Kross eventually overcame the numbers and devastated Mr. Escobar with a Doomsday Saito through the announce table. Finished him off with some forearm strikes to the back of the head, and that was it. Goodbye, Mr. Escobar. I don't know why the match was booked. Escobar, to me, I mean, this was a filler feud at the risk of burying your Cruiserweight champion and championship. Why is the Cruiserweight champion mixing it up with Karrion Kross? It just felt filler to me. I didn't give a fuck about this. Kross is great. We all know he's going to win the NXT title. What are you prolonging here? This was merely something for him to feast on NXT television. That's all it was. Escobar is way too good to be in this situation. But him, I think he's overseeing his welcome right now on 205 Live or whatever the fuck he's doing on there. He's got their title. What's going on there? He should be on NXT exclusively. He should be in the North American title discussion now. Fuck the Cruiserweight title. Put it on Autumn Sky, whatever the fuck his name is. August Sky, August Gray, whatever the fuck his name is. Who watches that shit? Adam Cole, this is what I watch for. Adam Cole comes out. He initially was very apologetic and he was very upset at his actions at the pay-per-view at TakeOver. So Roderick Strong, he came out. He was yelling at Cole about his heinous attack on Kyle O'Reilly. Roderick Strong seemed very, I would say, hesitant about trusting Cole. He wasn't sure whether Cole was trolling him or if he was genuine in his apology. I don't believe what I did. I love you guys like brothers, yada, yada, yada. So Finn Balor joined them. He jumped on Adam Cole. He beat the shit out of Adam Cole because Balor doesn't take any bullshit from anybody. So Strong stopped Balor beating up on Cole, and Adam Cole took advantage of this situation and floored Balor with a super kick. Took Balor out of there. He was selling the effects of Balor's attack. Roderick Strong was looking at Cole. I love you like a brother. What are you doing? Let's fix this. We're family. Then they hugged, they embraced. Roderick Strong was telling Adam Cole he loves him like a brother. Next thing you know, super kick right to the face. They're on their knees, hugging it out like brothers. And all of a sudden, Adam Cole super kicks Roderick Strong in the face. So that's Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong now with super kicks to the face. Man, oh man. Adam Cole has buried the Undisputed Era. That's it. They're done. Adam Cole is the Undisputed Era. According to him. I don't know when he's going to get his comeuppance, but Kyle O'Reilly, it's going to be a while. It's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. Roderick Strong, Bobby Fish, I don't know where they sit in all this. Finn Balor clearly wants a piece of Mr. Cole. I don't know where we're going with this, but if anything is going to happen, I'm assuming either one of two places. WrestleMania, with the injury to Kyle O'Reilly, I don't see that happening at WrestleMania, or the next TakeOver show, and then by SummerSlam, we will see Adam Cole in Bruce's hands. And I don't want to think about that. I really do not want to think about that, man. That just sends bullshit vibes up and down my spine. I don't want to hear that. Some AEW news. Tony Khan wins Booker of the Year in the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards. I don't know who takes this shit seriously, but Meltzer and Alvarez are trusted sources in the community, so it does go a long way. And yes, I know that they are AEW marks, so everybody, I'm sure, is shitting on this, but they announced that Tony Khan won Booker of the Year. So this afternoon, on Friday afternoon, everyone saw the results. Khan sent out a very heartfelt message to the fans. He says this, and I quote, "Thank you to everybody working in AEW and to the Wrestling Observer Newsletter fans and readers who voted for me 2020 Booker of the Year, Promoter of the Year. The only other times that anyone won both in the same year was Vince McMahon 3 times from 1998 to 2000, and Baba 2 times in 1990 and 1991. I dreamed of this for decades, he says. Thank you all so very much. End quote. It's interesting that he brought up Vince McMahon in this particular situation. Baba also holds the same distinction of being both named Booker and Promoter of the Year. Tony Khan obviously has plans for 2021 and beyond. AEW will soon have 4 weekly television shows to provide fans with loads of content. So that's that. How many people that hate the Observer are now triggered over what Meltzer and Alvarez have stated here? Keep dancing, because Meltzer and Alvarez don't give a shit. I love it. I love it. Pro wrestling is so serious to these geeks, man. Oh my God, how could they? But if you watch the fucking weekly show and you watch WWE's weekly show, it's very easy to fucking pinpoint who's Booker of the Year. It ain't Vince McMahon. The fuck out of here with that shit, man. Monday Night Raw and Smackdown produced some of the worst television in the history of that company. And it's not going to Impact. Who's it going to? Who watches Impact? Who watches Raw? Give me a break. AEW, they're waiting for Zelina Vega's contract to fully expire from WWE. Now, this was discussed on Wrestling Observer Live. Tony Khan was asked about the possibility of hiring Vega, her real name Thea Trinidad. Khan stated that he is interested in speaking with the former WWE superstar, and he's been waiting for that non-compete clause to expire. That is pretty interesting, man. That is very interesting for 2 reasons, and I'll get to that. He says this, and I quote, "Isn't she in a 90-day non-compete? She was in a non-compete last time I checked. I've been waiting for that. I don't talk to people when they have the non-compete. If hers expired, it must have just expired. I've been waiting on her non-compete to expire. I'd have to check the math to see if she expired." Lots of expirations here. I wish Monday Night Raw would fucking expire. I wish Bruce Pritchard would fucking expire. When we get through this tournament and through this pay-per-view, I'd be interested to see where she is at. End quote. Now, I all know we all stuck up for Zelina Vega when she got terminated from WWE. It was bullshit. It's WWE's loss, not Zelina's loss. She's very talented. She'll go somewhere and make just as much money doing what she loves to do if she wants to remain in the business. But the thing is, this presents 2 opportunities for AEW. Okay? Number 1, you're going to get Zelina Vega, who has a decent audience for herself. She has accumulated a decent audience for herself. And she's very good at being a managerial individual. She's great at playing that managerial role on television. She proved it with Andrade. She proved it with Austin Theory. She proved it with Garza. I mean, just look at Andrade. He went from jobber to NXT champion overnight because of the presence that Zelina Vega gave Andrade. Angel Garza was much better off when he was with Zelina Vega than he is now. I don't know what the fuck he's doing now. He's being persuaded by Bad Bunny on Monday Night Raw to lose matches. Clearly, he was better with Zelina. Now, if Zelina, Thea, is coming into AEW and Tony's going to offer her a contract, where does she fit on the show? You could do her good by putting her with LAX. I see that. It's a potential managerial role there for LAX, but they don't really need it, right? You could make a trio of women on AEW television. You could do Thea Trinidad. You could do Diamante. You could do Ivelisse. Nice little stable of women there, right? Or, this is my pitch to boss man Tony Khan. I don't know. It looks like AEW is pushing Phoenix and Pentagon as solo acts. But they're brothers at the end of the day. I'm assuming they're always going to be together. Why not have Zelina come in and manage Rey Fenix? Why not have Zelina come in and manage Pentagon? Why not have Zelina come in, Thea come in, and manage the Lucha Brothers? That's what would be best. They barely speak English. Who's going to get across what they are better than someone like Zelina? I think it's a perfect fit. Now, the other thing that comes of this situation, if Zelina goes to AEW, then I know you're all thinking what I'm thinking. Aleister Black is done. He's done. The character that we all know and loved is dead. Tommy End is going to end up in AEW. If his wife is over there, and Tony Khan knows this, hey, if we sign you, what's the likelihood that we get your husband when his contract expires over there in WWE? And that is a major get. Young, great looking, in the ring, great. Can you imagine him in AEW? Managed by her? That's a win-win situation if I'm Tony Khan. I think that is a deal ready to happen, and it will happen. There's just too many positives to come out of that. You're getting a talent in Zelina, and then you got the possibility of Tommy End coming over, Aleister Black coming over, her husband coming over to AEW. Because you know he is disgruntled right now. He wants to probably wait it out. He's keeping his calm. He wants to probably give the middle finger to Bruce and Vince. That would be a great move. Kyle O'Reilly out 4 to 6 weeks after attack from Adam Cole. This is obviously per storyline. He's just selling the attack. He's not really hurt, geeks. He's not really hurt. So NXT saw Adam Cole kick Kyle O'Reilly in the face. He did it to Roderick Strong. And it is reportedly not a legitimate injury. It's only to further the storyline with Adam Cole after Cole's betrayal of the Undisputed Era. JD, why is it so long for him to sell an injury? Because the Undisputed Era gave you 4 years of their fucking life. You could wait 6 weeks for them to tell the fucking story and finish it off. That's why. You don't need it immediately. There's nothing going on now. There's no takeover now. And Vince is not putting this match on WrestleMania. If there's one match from NXT that's going on WrestleMania, it's Cross and Balor. That's it. Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly will be safe for the next TakeOver special. That's it. 4 to 6 weeks out, he's selling a storyline. So when you heard that from Vic Joseph, it's not legitimate, folks. What is legitimate is Casey Catanzaro. She is legit hurt. Or if you're Meltzer, that's what he's reporting. Casey Catanzaro must be injured legit, he says, because they had a situation that happened with Xia Li. They said she had a broken leg. When they say she's got a broken leg, that means she'll be out for months because that's an excuse for a real injury. She also had a big brace on that knee to begin with, so she's obviously really hurt, he says, end quote. Bryan Alvarez also pointed out how she was doing various spots and jumping around. Meltzer followed up with, yeah, but they don't say you have a broken leg and then you come back in 2 weeks. There's a story, whatever it is. They wouldn't do it if it wasn't legit. So we'll see what happens, man. I know Casey was doing these big high-risk moves in the Dusty Classic that we'd never seen her pull out. It looked like she was taking some major influence from Ricochet, doing some spiraling fucking 630 in the air, whatever the fuck she was doing. She may have hurt herself on one of them. So Casey Catanzaro is going to be out. And Kaden Carter may be all by herself in that women's division. So we'll see what happens there. Monday Night Raw, the ratings for the Post-Elimination Chambers show were not good. According to Showbuzz Daily, the show averaged 1.889 million viewers on the USA Network. That's actually up from the previous week of 1.810. Imagine WWE coming out of the chamber where they had a shock title win from The Miz cashing in. On the road to WrestleMania, 6 weeks before WrestleMania, and this show can't even generate a 2.0 rating. Where are the geeks now? Why is Monday Night Raw so terrible? Because if people were interested, they'd obviously be watching the show, right? Couldn't be me. Couldn't be me. Watching this show, defending this show. I watch it for monetary reasons only. If I did not have the podcast, I mean, Monday Night Raw would be in the fucking toilet bowl with my morning dump. It's exactly where it would be. The 18 to 49 demos saw hour 1 at a 0.60, 0.57 in hour 2, and 0.53 in hour 3. The hourly breakdown is 1.978 for hour 1, 1.926 for hour 2, and 1.765 in that dreaded hour 3. Did not break a 2 all 3 hours, man. But you made The Miz the WWE champion. There you go. That should speak volumes. That's why nobody's watching Monday Night Raw even after an Elimination Chamber shock win and a show that's on the road to WrestleMania. Monday Night Raw was awful. I don't need to explain that. This show sucks every single week. The entire show was built around The Miz and him answering Bobby Lashley's ultimatum. So we'll get into that in a second. But that was the entire premise of the show. Matt Riddle defeated John Morrison. I got news on him. I would like to see more matches between these two, possibly for the United States title, but John Morrison may be out for a very long time. The New Day defeated Mason T-Bar of Retribution. It looks like Ali is so frustrated that they teased a potential breaking up of the faction. He demoralized all of them on the microphone after they lost to the New Day. Rematch number 1. No, well, not in this case between the New Day and Retribution. This is like rematch number 17, but I would say even Riddle and John Morrison is a rematch. That's kind of fresh at the same time. They wrestled when Matt Riddle first made his debut on Smackdown last year inside an empty gymnasium. This, Retribution and the New Day have been feuding for like 3 months now. Every single week, it's just a match with one member of Retribution against Xavier or Kofi or both of them or all 3 of them or all 4 of them, whatever the case may be. But if this is leading up to a breaking up of the faction, God bless America. Get Ali away from these guys. Give me Dominic Dijakovic. Put Shane Thorne back in NXT. Give me Mia Yim. Mace, I don't give a fuck what he does. Go back to playing Predator. I don't know. Braun Strowman demanded a WWE Championship match. I'm sorry, Braun. It doesn't work that way. Who do you think you are, Bill Goldberg? Who do you think you are, Brock Lesnar? What a fucking geek. He's a monster geek. A monster among geeks is Braun Strowman. Give me a break. So Shane O'Mac came out shadow punching everybody. And he said, listen, this Elimination Chamber match was a match comprised of former WWE champions. You are a Universal champion. Braun Strowman was so angry he did not realize that he was in the wrong here. So he wants a match, and then he's like, you know what? Fuck it. This sucks. That sucks. The Miz sucks. Lashley sucks. You suck. Adam Pearce sucks. I want a match with Lashley. Then Shane McMahon's like, oh man, this sounds good. So he's like, all right, I'll give you Bobby Lashley. If Bobby Lashley wins, then you are gone. But if you win, I'll give you a Universal or a WWE. Now I'm saying it. Now I may be a fucking monster geek. I'll give you a WWE title opportunity when Bobby Lashley goes up against The Miz. I'll make it a triple threat match with you included. If he beats Bobby Lashley. So that was that. Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin of the Hurt Business defeated Lucha House Party in a Texas Tornado match. Another rematch. Damien Priest versus Angel Garza. Obviously, Priest won with Bad Bunny in his corner. Another rematch. We've seen this, whether it was a week ago, 2 weeks ago. We've seen it before. It's a rematch. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Charlotte and Asuka. They beat Charlotte and Asuka. Another rematch, folks. Sheamus versus Jeff Hardy. Sheamus beats Jeff Hardy. Another rematch with the Junkie and Jeff Hardy, the drunk. Unbelievable. Naomi and Lana defeated Mandy Rose and Catering. At this point, who was watching the show? Probably nobody. AJ Styles defeated Ricochet. Another rematch. How many weeks do we need AJ Styles beating Ricochet, furthering the fact that this guy is a fucking loser? And then Braun Strowman falls to Bobby Lashley. He gets no WWE title opportunity. This show was trash. Absolute fucking trash. I don't know who enjoys Monday Night Raw on a weekly basis. McIntyre was the luckiest of them all. He wasn't even fucking there. He was there, but he wasn't used on the show. So we got Meltzer talking about where Drew McIntyre was on The Observer. Says, and I quote, no mention of his name at all on the show. Well, I think that the feeling is if he was on the show, he'd have to kill The Miz, and they didn't want him killing The Miz this week. Because what would you do with him on the show if your direction was Lashley getting a title shot next week? You mean to tell me Bruce had a solid idea? Unreal. I mean, the thing is, him being there would have been a negative because you'll be going, well, why didn't he get a title shot? And why is he beating up The Miz immediately? Because he's the one who got screwed. Why isn't he beating up Lashley for screwing him? That's my point. That's the point I tried to make in the beginning of this podcast. It's got to be Drew McIntyre going after Lashley. Lashley was the one who led to The Miz. The Miz just capitalized like a fucking geek. Lashley's the one you should have issue with. So let him win the title. And then take the title from Bobby Lashley, extracting your ultimate revenge. So I'm glad me and Dave are on the same wavelength here. They decided not to go with any angle that would remove Drew McIntyre from the building. Instead, they just didn't book him on the show at all. As of this writing, there was no injury. He was not hurt. That kept McIntyre from appearing on Raw. He just simply wasn't booked because of the creative aspect it would have created. According to PW Insider, Drew McIntyre was backstage during Raw this week. He wasn't given the night off in terms of showing up to work, but he wasn't needed. He was there, but wasn't needed. For those who have asked, Drew McIntyre was indeed backstage at Monday Night Raw. Good. All I will say is that he was there, fine. Was he needed on the show? No, because the show did not need him. He wasn't needed in this story. He will be needed, but if him being on the show happened, then it would have threw a wrench into everything that you're trying to tell. Phases, steps. Get through this phase, get through this step, and then bring McIntyre back. You'll know when he's back. You'll know that it's right when he is. Damien Priest. How WWE reportedly sees Damien Priest backstage. Meltzer discussed Damien Priest's push. He's going to be protected for sure until WrestleMania and probably a little bit after. Plus, they like him. They see him as that Latino superstar that they haven't had. And even though they have one or a couple, the young one, 38, he says, young because he's new, not because of his age. They got in Damien Priest, but they've been looking for that new Latin star ever since Alberto Del Retard left. And if you got a tall guy and he talks really well and he moves really well and he's not bad in the ring, he's actually very good in the ring. So that's a bonus. So that's what Meltzer says about Damien Priest. I'm giving this 3 months. Normally I'd say 2, 3 months after WrestleMania. I guarantee you Damien Priest is buried before SummerSlam. They're only doing it now because he's got Bad Bunny with him. But this is what WWE usually does. Now, they have Latino superstars. They got Andrade, which they failed. They got Angel Garza, which they failed. They got Dominic, which they're not really doing much with the Mysterios. But they got Andrade and they got Garza. But why is Damien Priest standing out? Because he's got a better look than those two guys, and he fits the bill as far as what Vince McMahon looks for in a pro wrestler. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, folks. It's just the nature of Vince McMahon's game. Damien Priest looks the part. The other guys do not. Damien Priest speaks English. The other guys, well, Garza does, but Andrade does not. So it is what it is, folks. I'm not going to sit here and dissect why Damien Priest is being pushed over Andrade and Garza when they're all the same ethnic background. It's not that difficult to figure out. I don't need to sit here and tell you why. You should already know. You know how Vince McMahon operates. Samoa Joe. Is he coming back to the ring? I hope so. Guy's too good. Too good to be doing commentary. He spoke to Sportskeeda about his in-ring status. This is where he did not give a timetable for return, but he kept people hopeful. As far as the timetable, he says, no, I just want to reassure people that, you know this point, WWE Medical is doing the best for my health and my well-being. I'm also appreciative of it. So we're taking our time. We're making sure that I am healthy as I can be. I think that's essentially it. I'm not putting a timetable on my return because the type of injury is not something that I want to rush, obviously, for obvious reasons. I mean, that's essentially the update. I mean, and obviously, too, there's been some holdups from a technical standpoint with the pandemic going on and availability of medical personnel. But for the most part, we're taking a careful, measured approach Though I don't think my in-ring career is over by a long shot, I am appreciative of the recovery time, that my health is being respected at a premium. So it is what it is, man. Samoa Joe, if he was healthy, listen, Samoa Joe would be a perfect foil for that WWE Championship situation. He really would. If Drew McIntyre needed an opponent as WWE Champion for WrestleMania, I would not hesitate to say Samoa Joe. Seriously. He's that good. But I'm glad that his health is a number one priority because I do think he has a lot left to give. He has a lot left in the tank, and I want to see that he continues at the end of his career the way he wants and not on the injured reserve. So I'm glad that he is sitting back and just letting things take course. And he's very good at what he does. Samoa Joe is a very good color commentator, so good for him. WWE Raw stable appears to be breaking up. I mentioned this while going over the basics of Monday Night Raw. Mustafa Ali has indicated that he's not happy with the members of Retribution losing matches, and this week he scolded the entire group after Mace and T-Bar lost a quick match to Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. The word going around in WWE in recent weeks is that Vince McMahon he's pretty much ready to move on from the faction, and others in the company agree with him. It's not clear if this is truly the start of the breakup or if there are plans to repackage them. If they end up being split up, then it should cause some concern amongst the group because there aren't many spots to showcase them as single stars every week. What? Whoever wrote this report is a blithering fucking... There's no room to showcase them as singles every week. You have a 3-hour fucking show. Fuck you talking about? You'd rather see rematches every fucking week? End the group. You failed it from night one. It hasn't gotten better. In fact, it's gotten worse. They have no legitimacy on this show. They have no star power. Everything that you said about them ceased to exist in week 3. They revealed themselves, and everything about it made no sense whatsoever. If WWE cared, it would have made sense. Ali deserves better. They tried. He tried, which I commend, but he deserves better. Give me Dominik Dijakovic. Repackage him as a badass. Shane Thorne, back to NXT you go. Mia Yim, too good to be under a mask. Mace, down to the Performance Center you go. Clearly needs work to be done. So out of this, you salvage Mia Yim, Dominik Dijakovic, and Ali. It's better than most. End it. Mick Foley. He's pleading with WWE to not ruin Rhea Ripley. Keep pleading, Mick. Keep pleading. She ain't gonna sleep with you, bro. She's not gonna sleep with you. He wrote the following on his Facebook account. It's vital, or this is Twitter. Who gives a shit where he fucking social media's? Twitter. He was on Twitter pleading with WWE regarding Ripley's upcoming push on the main roster because he's seen the coming attractions for Rhea Ripley on Monday Night Raw. Former NXT champion the last couple of years, and even pitched why she should have won the Women's Royal Rumble this year. Bro, she's not going to sleep with you, man. End it. He wrote the following on Twitter, and I quote, "It's vital that WWE does not mess around when it comes to pushing Rhea Ripley. Please, don't allow her to suffer a 50-50 fate. Strap the rocket to her and see how far she can fly." Mick, I'm not sure if you realize this, but strapping the rocket to somebody only leads to the sun. And that sun is Charlotte Flair. So when the rocket pack is on somebody and they fly directly at the sun, they disintegrate into fucking nothing. I'm sure you know how it works here. We all feel the same way. WWE has a lot of work to do, Mr. Foley. They fucked this woman up coming out of NXT last year. That loss to Charlotte at WrestleMania has done absolutely the worst things imaginable to this woman. Now you want her to show up on Monday Night Raw and have them strap a rocket pack to her? Is she blonde? She may be blonde in color, but she doesn't look like the typical blonde in WWE. What do you expect to happen here? She gets pushed for what? A month, 2 months? And does what? Wins the title? Where do you think it's going? They need to do more, not with just Rhea Ripley, but with the women's division. What division is she walking into? Nothing. Merge Raw and SmackDown women's divisions. Problem solved. Then you could have Ripley get wins, look legit, be competitive, and then when she gets a championship match, lo and behold, you got a top contender for the title. No reason for 2 women's championships on top of tag team championships. She's going to Raw to do what? A match with Asuka sounds very promising at WrestleMania, but do you think WWE is going to have her come on in and be the type of performer you want her to be on Monday Night Raw where Charlotte resides? The women's division needs more than Rhea Ripley, folks. This is what I want to get across. It needs more than just Rhea Ripley, man. Cut the shit. Speaking of the women's division, Asuka seems to be splitting from Charlotte Flair. WWE may be splitting them to set up a potential WrestleMania match. Based on how things are unfolding with their storyline, it looks like Flair would challenge Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania. Like, we didn't know that. At one point, it looked like Lacey would be involved in their storyline, but she announced that she's pregnant and cannot take bumps, so her plans are on hold. It's unclear who will be the one to turn on who, but a match is destined for the 2. This is the latest in a long list of turns in recent weeks on WWE television. We had potential heel turns in Chad Gable and Otis, and I'm saying potential because I don't think it's true yet, and Apollo Crews. That was definitive in Apollo. But, I mean, Charlotte is a babyface. It doesn't make sense. She's nauseating in either situation, but she's more of a heel than she is a babyface. But WWE more than likely is going to turn Asuka because they developed Asuka into this boring, nothing, non-factor of a character. And they want to develop, if you're watching the show, they want to develop sympathy for Charlotte Flair. So she may be the babyface in this situation. Asuka came off kind of, get the fuck away from me. I don't give a fuck about you. On Monday Night Raw. Not wanting to shake Charlotte's hand, and she didn't want Charlotte's help. Charlotte then going to talk to Rick about this and that, about the family name, and get out of here, go home. They're trying to develop sympathy for Charlotte. Yet we don't have sympathy for Charlotte. We have sympathy for Asuka because JD stats. Asuka hasn't defended that title on pay-per-view in 6 months. 6 months! Yeah, Mick Foley's over here thinking Rhea Ripley's going to be the savior of the women's division. What a fucking terrible WrestleMania match. That's your best? Charlotte versus Asuka for the women's championship. Asuka hasn't gotten a victory over Charlotte yet. You're going to give it to her now? Might as well just fucking kill her dead now. Pretty much have done that with creative booking. Asuka actually lost a tooth on Monday Night Raw in that match with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Baszler landed a kick on Asuka's mouth. It was later confirmed on Raw Talk by Charlie Caruso that Asuka lost a tooth. Maybe we should send her to Kevin Dunn. Give Asuka some advice. Then we can send her off to Dr. Britt Baker. You know, Jesse's favorite AEW superstar. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. She works wonders. Asuka will be back and full of teeth in no time. Asuka seems to be heading towards a split with Charlotte Flair, which, like I said, could result in a match at WrestleMania. Well, I'll tell you what, Bruce, if you didn't book another fucking rematch that we didn't need, Asuka would have all her fucking teeth. Sure, Kevin Dunn told Asuka to put the fucking tooth under her pillow and he'd fly and leave a nice little fucking fresh toothbrush with toothpaste for her underneath her pillow. John Morrison. Final story of the evening. John Morrison injured. Dave Meltzer's reporting that John Morrison suffered a potential knee injury during his match with Matt Riddle. The injury happened when he did a twisting dive at one point, caught his leg in the ropes, which resulted in him landing on his knee while hitting the floor on the outside. Referee checked on Morrison, who continued the match but was limping. They finished the match and Riddle never worked over the knee but did connect with his finisher for the win. The Bro Derek. Later in the show, Morrison was limping and walking slower when he came out with The Miz for Miz TV. As it stands right now, there's no word on the severity of the injury, nor if he will miss any time from the ring. WWE could just have him appear on Monday Night Raw, non-wrestling with The Miz until he recovers. So that sucks, man. That's a big injury. He may be a non-factor and a geek right now with The Miz, but John Morrison breaking away from The Miz and giving that mid-card division a nice little shot of adrenaline on the arm could be exactly what that mid-card, that show, and John Morrison need. Get back on the serious track and distance himself from The Miz, but that knee injury doesn't look good, so I'll keep you guys updated when we get into the Raw post-show on Monday nights. That's all I got for you guys, man. I appreciate you hanging out with me. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter at JD4MNY206, that's Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications. Go and check out Critiques and Connoisseurs. First episode is now live on the official YouTube channel. Where's the channel, you ask? Link is down below. You'll see it in the description of this very video. Go and get your merchandise, man. Bonfire.com, the exclusive home of Off the Script. Go get your masks, mouthmasker.com. Go and check out Dr. Squatch, drsquatch.com/script. Go and get your caps, custom made, capbeast.com. You guys can check that link down below in the description as well. And I will see you guys back with a brand new week, starting with Monday Night Raw. Bobby Lashley, hopefully winning the WWE Championship from The Miz on Raw. We'll be here live on Monday night to go over it all. Until then, guys, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys back here for Monday Night's Raw. See you guys then.